Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose, and here we are on yet another wonderful Monday. No, who am I kidding? Nobody really likes Mondays, but we do get to start off the week with some interesting gaming updates, including a very exciting Nintendo leak, as well as a new Nintendo Direct that just got announced this morning. Yes, a June Nintendo Direct is happening after all, though maybe not what everybody was necessarily hoping for. But even then, I do think that some interesting things could actually be shown here. So we'll talk about that later on in the video. Also, Gamescom is coming around the corner, and we're starting to get an idea as to who will and who won't be there. We do have a new confirmation as well as a few big absences, so make sure to stay tuned for all that later on in a video as well. With that said though, let's just go ahead and jump right into the news, starting off with some PlayStation Plus games for the month of July. This seemingly happens every single month now, so this shouldn't really come as a major surprise or anything like that, but Bill Coon once again did leak out the PlayStation Plus game lineup just a little bit early. Really, I'd say by this point, and with him just accurately leaking this stuff for such a long period of time, this is about as good as a confirmation. If something is wrong though, I'll of course let you know when Sony officially announces this stuff, but for the time being, according to Bill Coon, the July lineup for PlayStation Plus will be Crash Bandicoot 4, The Dark Pictures Man of Medan, and then Arcadegeddon. Now that's actually a really strong lineup, as Crash 4 in my opinion is just absolutely fantastic. It's challenging, it's got great level design, there's lots of content, and it's just overall a brilliant 3D platformer. So if you haven't already played this game already, and if you are subscribed to PlayStation Plus, definitely go out and make sure to add Crash 4 to your library come July. For you horror fans out there though, you might want to check out Man of Medan, which is developed by Supermassive Games. They actually just released The Quarry earlier this month, so if you like that game, you might want to give Man of Medan a try. Now, as for Arcadegeddon, this is actually a day one release, so you'll automatically save $30 here, which is always nice to see. It does seem like Sony's trying to do a little bit more when it comes to these day one releases, which is really good to see, but there you have it. I think that that's actually a pretty strong lineup for the month of July, especially because Crash Bandicoot 4. Please, if you all haven't already done so, go check that game out because it is an absolute blast. Moving on, however, Halo's back in the news once again, though this time not for Halo Infinite, but rather Halo the Master Chief Collection, as it appears 343 is looking to add microtransactions to the Master Chief Collection. Yeah, this was noted over on Halo Waypoint, where they more or less said that they're looking to add purchasable Spartan points that would allow fans to catch up or skip the grind to get cosmetic items that they prefer. Now, they did make sure to clarify that this would be completely optional, and the way that they're describing it, it doesn't really seem like things are going to change for those who doesn't necessarily want to purchase them. Even then, of course, there's been some mixed reactions over this, which is to be expected, but as of this moment, or at least in how it's currently being described, it seems like it's just an extra option, more or less. Now, I personally don't care for microtransactions myself, and I don't purchase microtransactions really at all, but as long as they're not pay to win and they don't necessarily exploit fans by making them play for just an absurd amount of time where you're pretty much forced to pay for items, then they're pretty easily ignored. That right now seems to be how they're describing things, as it's a quote-unquote optional thing, and hopefully that's the case. But let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. I know anytime there's a discussion for microtransactions, there's always going to be a little pushback, so let me know how you feel in the comments below. Let's go talk about Nintendo though, because all month long we've heard about this mythical June Nintendo Direct. I mean, there for a while it was kind of looking to be more mythical than a unicorn, because at first it was believed to be on the 15th, and well, that didn't happen. Then of course there was the Xenoblade 3 Direct on the 22nd, and then everybody started to look towards the next possible date, which was June 29th. There were leaks left and right about June 29th, and well, they were close, technically. A Direct is indeed happening this week, though it's actually on June 28th, being tomorrow. And it's not a general Direct as many fans were hoping for, but instead, Nintendo announced a mini Direct partner showcase that's roughly 25 minutes long. Now, rumors of this partner showcase actually started last week when Andy Robinson from the Video Game Chronicles speculated that the June Direct would actually be a partner showcase, and then over the weekend, Nate the Hate claimed that's actually exactly what it is, a partner showcase. So kudos to both of them on getting this one right, and this actually kind of lines up with what Jeff Grubb stated as well, and that he had been hearing that Nintendo is doing their summer showcases in bits and pieces. So with that in mind, there's still a very real chance that we will get more directs shortly after this partner showcase. So don't necessarily be overly disappointed that this event is focusing more on third-party games instead of first-party. That first-party showcase, that could still happen rather soon. You know, sometimes possibly even this summer if we read into what Jeff Grubb said. However, even if this partner showcase isn't necessarily what some fans were hoping for, that still doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad event. On the contrary, I actually think that there could be some highly interesting announcements made here. I mean, there are some big third-party games in development for the Switch currently, so let's kind of talk about that and what could possibly be here. Now, these are just kind of predictions based on what we currently know, but Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope could maybe be here. This game is being developed by Ubisoft after all, and I mean, we still don't have a release date, so a Sparks of Hope re-reveal with a release date would be a great game to show here, so we'll see about that one. But another game that we need a release date or a release window for is Bayonetta 3. We did finally get gameplay for this game not long ago, but I'm sure many of you all out there are very anxious to get that release date, so that could be a potential announcement here. There's also Hollow Knight Silksong, which is supposed to release within the next 12 months, according to Xbox, but maybe that could be narrowed down just a little bit more here. There's also been a lot of speculation for Persona on the Nintendo Switch. Of course, you know, Atlas, they made that huge announcement earlier this month that Persona 3, 4, and 5 Royal will be heading over to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. But the absence of Nintendo was such a big disappointment for a lot of fans out there. I mean, these games, they would fit perfectly on the Nintendo Switch. Now, as I've said before, maybe Persona 5 Royal could have some problems running on the Switch. And okay, you can make a debate for that. But I mean, Persona 3 and 4, come on. These are PlayStation Portable and Vita games that we're talking about here. And with Nintendo's dominance over in Japan, it's just such a no-brainer to bring these games over to the Switch. So maybe, just maybe, Atlas grows a brain here and announces them. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it myself, but I do believe that at some point down the road, at the very least, Persona 3 and 4 will make their way over to the Switch. Speaking of games that would fit perfectly on the Switch though, Tactics Ogre Reborn leaked earlier this month on the PlayStation Store. It was also in the NVIDIA GeForce leak, so there's some evidence out there of this game's existence, and Square Enix, they could confirm that here. There's also been some rumors of a new Resident Evil Revelations game for the Switch. I don't know how true this one is, but I mean, you never know. And like I said before, even if this isn't that big general showcase that fans were kind of hoping for, there could still be some rather interesting third-party announcements made here. And actually, about that, a pretty exciting leak made its way online, this time for Metroid Prime Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is not the first time we've heard about a possible Metroid Prime Remaster for the Switch, but this one is coming from Jeff Grubb, and he gave us a lot of new details as to what Nintendo is planning for Metroid. In short, there's going to be a lot of happy people out there, but let's go and check out exactly what he had to say. I can say that I've been told pretty definitively that Metroid Prime Remastered is going to be one of their big holiday games. In the past, this is something that I've heard is in the works. They've had things happening with that game. Now, it's like I've been told that their plans are to release that game this holiday. I think almost certainly to line up with the 20th anniversary in November. That's happening, and they need to tell us what that release date is. He then continues on to talk about Metroid Prime 2 and 3, where he says, the other scoop here is that those games are also coming. They're also pretty much done, it sounds like, but Nintendo being Nintendo is going to hold on to them and will likely drop them later along the road. However, Nintendo decides in what order to release their games. They are going to do that, but they are going to do it separately, it sounds like. And Metroid Prime 1, my understanding is that's getting the big remaster treatment. And then Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3 are sort of getting, they'll probably get like updated controls and things like that. But they're not quite getting the same overhaul that Metroid Prime 1 is getting. So there you have it, and the great news here is that Metroid Prime 1 is coming back with a big overhaul and is planned to release this holiday, according to Jeff Grubb. Now, Jeff Grubb, as we've talked about on his channel several times, has a pretty good reputation, so that's a good sign that this could actually be true. I mean, you should still kind of take this as nothing more than a rumor for the time being, but this is a game that we've heard a lot about in the last year or so. There's been several leaks of a Metroid Prime remaster existing, and as the saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I do sure hope that that's the case here, because Metroid Prime, I mean, this is a game that is viewed as one of the all-time greats. And truthfully, it really needs to come back for multiple reasons. One is because they're developing Metroid Prime 4, of course. And as unfortunate as it may be, Metroid Prime has never really been a massive franchise in terms of sales numbers. So bringing these games back, I mean, that could get more fans invested leading up to the release of Metroid Prime 4. And that is something that we saw just last year. A lot of people, they started to go back and purchase some of the old 2D Metroid games leading up to Metroid Dread. And now, Dread, that is actually the best-selling Metroid game ever made. So, by making Metroid Prime more easily accessible, that would be huge. But even more so, Nintendo, I mean, they can still make these games even better. Yes, these games are viewed as all-time greats and everything, but truthfully, the original game, as good as it may be, its controls, they age poorly. Its controls are rather clunky, to say the least, so just a simple upgrade would be huge for Metroid Prime. That would be a massive improvement. And that right there is exactly why I'm not upset that it sounds like Prime 2 and 3 won't have as big of an upgrade compared to Prime 1. Again, just a simple update to the controls, that would be huge alone. I'd say really the only disappointing part of this news is that it sounds like Nintendo, they intend on selling them separately. That's really just such a Nintendo thing to do by this point, but either way, I'll still be absolutely ecstatic if the rumor is true that Metroid Prime is returning to the Switch. Now, another showcase that's right around the corner is Gamescom. As we move out of June, aka the Gamers Holiday, the next big event where a lot of these publishers show up to make big announcements would be Gamescom, which will be on August 24th through the 28th. Though now we're just kind of waiting to see exactly who and who won't be there. Sadly, it does appear that several big companies will be skipping out on Gamescom this year, which we'll kind of get to here in just a moment. We did get one confirmation today, though. Ubisoft today did confirm that they'll be there, which is very notable because they were actually one of the big publishers that kind of skipped out this month. They did have the Assassin's Creed showcase and everything, but they didn't really do too much in the month of June, so maybe they could make some interesting announcements at Gamescom or just give us some interesting updates for some of their already announced games. Unfortunately, Activision Blizzard and Take-Two are skipping out on Gamescom, however, though the big question is whether or not any of the big three will be there. And unfortunately, both Nintendo and PlayStation, they did confirm that they will not be at this year's Gamescom. Now, I don't really think that's really all that surprising, to be honest. Both Nintendo and PlayStation by this point are just kind of doing their own thing with Nintendo Direct and PlayStation State of Play. In fact, PlayStation's rumored to have their big State of Play this September, so I don't think that they necessarily need to be at this event per se. However, Xbox, they're being relatively quiet right now. Though, interestingly enough, Jez Corden at one point, he did mention that he had heard that Xbox will be at Gamescom this year. I mean, Xbox has a lot of games in development that I know fans would absolutely love to see. There's lots of unannounced games that they haven't announced yet. There's also plenty of games that they've already announced, but we want to see more of. So Gamescom, that could be a great opportunity for them, and maybe we'll even get a glimpse at some of their games beyond just the next 12 months, which is what they focused on this month. Maybe here at Gamescom, that'll kind of be the place where we can see games like Avowed, Fable, Hellblade 2, or even Perfect Dark. Again, you never really know, as Microsoft, they just have a ton of games in development, but according to Jez, there's a good chance that Xbox will be at Gamescom this year, and they still do have a lot to show, so it could be worth keeping an eye on. Either way, though, the next couple of months continues to look very busy for the world of gaming, and as always, I will keep you all updated every step of the way. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all on what are you most hoping to see at the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase tomorrow. Of course, we talked about this earlier, but I want your all's thoughts, and as you can see here, most of you all want to see more of Bayonetta 3 with 33% of the votes. Then an even split of 21% apiece for a Persona announcement and Silk Song release date. Then only 10% of you all voted for Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I actually thought the results here were a little surprising, but looking through the comments, I saw several of you all vote for games like Metroid Prime, 007 GoldenEye, which actually, yes, that could be here as well with all of those different leaks out there. So good call out from you all on this one. I saw Golden Sun here, which, I mean, I have to admit, that would be pretty amazing to see return. That was a great JRPG for the Game Boy Advance. There's also Resident Evil Revelations. We talked about that one earlier, and the list just kind of goes on and on. Again, as I said earlier, there's a lot of potential announcements that could actually be made here, so don't necessarily rule this showcase out just yet because it's a partner showcase. I mean, yes, it could go either way, and it's always good to temper expectations, but hopefully tomorrow will be a fun time for Nintendo fans across the globe. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.